The year 2020 started with earthquakes, floods, wildfires, and the threat of World War III. Those really were the good old days. Then coronavirus entered everyone's vocabulary and brought the whole world to a halt. This pandemic has caused the swiftest, deepest economic tremor we've experienced in our lifetimes. Even the greatest economic shocks so far, such as the global financial crisis and the Great Depression, played out over the span of several years. COVID-19 brought the global economy to its knees in just 3 weeks. This gigantic economic downturn quickly got a fun 2020-style name: the Great Lockdown. The list of events that this pandemic has postponed or cancelled is staggering. Elections, concerts, the Eurovision Song Contest, parades, festivals, football championships, and even the Olympics. The huge death toll aside, this virus has economically affected every single country, causing many factories, SMEs, and family businesses to close down. It has even devastated China's exports, which hit rock bottom right at the beginning of 2020. As the saying goes, this too shall pass. Unfortunately, it's going to pass in true 2020 fashion, like a kidney stone. So, what are the current economic consequences of this pandemic? And could we catch a glimpse of the near future by casting our eye over similar past events? We'll answer these questions right here, right now. Before we dive into the good stuff, we have a quick favour to ask. At the moment, Fortunately is a small channel that hopes to grow big and strong. And every like and share from you guys will help us get closer to this goal. If you find this video interesting and informative, please subscribe, since we're keen on making many more videos that explain finance in a fun way. It would mean the world to us. Now that that's out of the way, let's see how this latest pandemic has plunged the global economy into recession. For starters, let's remind ourselves how recession is defined. Technically speaking, a recession means 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. At the moment, a lot of financial experts don't really think that this is a catastrophic thing. Of course, the worst affected members of society would disagree, especially those working class people who found themselves on the front line of this economic crisis and immediately felt its full impact. This has placed significant psychological strain on employers too. Many have been forced to cut salaries, pay minimum wages, and even fire loyal workers. As such, many employees fear for their future and feel betrayed by their bosses, who simply can't afford to keep them. On the global scale, it seems the relative decline in GDP will be less severe in low-income countries, while advanced economies are bound to be hit hardest by the COVID-19 crisis. A big crash shook the world's favourite cryptocurrency when it plummeted from a value of more than $10,000 in mid-February to just a hair below $5,000. Bitcoin owners held their breath in panic, but thankfully the crisis ended after a couple of months. One of the hardest hit aspects of life has been entertainment. The sports industry has managed to survive despite bans on massive gatherings by organising televised matches with no spectators. The film industry, however, is fighting to stay alive as cinemas across the world remain shut. The production of films and series has been suspended in many instances, while leading on-demand platforms are screaming for new content as viewers remained glued to their devices during lockdown. It goes without saying that the restaurant and bar industry has been smashed by the crisis, suffering enormous losses due to a lack of patrons. Business services and retail have also suffered, as has the healthcare industry, which is surely the ultimate irony. All industries that could find an alternative way to do business have done so. Restaurants have switched to delivery and takeaway, the retail industry has shifted its focus to online sales, and all businesses that could transition to working from home have done so. However, there are other service industries that face a long dry spell and will struggle to rise back up even after the pandemic has ended. One of those is tourism, which played a significant role in spreading the virus and is now being severely punished. Hotel owners and tourist agencies are undoubtedly praying for that vaccine to arrive ASAP. The airline industry, which is closely intertwined with tourism, faces a similar fate. It's anticipated that airline companies altogether will suffer a massive loss of revenue worth over $250 billion by the end of 2020. As such, it's only natural to assume that this crisis will have an impact on social matters, ideologies, and politics. One example of this is the anti-Chinese sentiment being expressed and legitimised by many governments around the world. Sadly, we knew this was coming. Back in the 14th century, the aftermath of the Black Death saw an increase in xenophobia and anti-Semitism. Fear and suspicion of foreigners significantly affected trade. Moreover, many are wondering if the consequences of this pandemic are proof that the invisible hand of the market has limited powers. Could it be that governments can't control everything and conspiracy theories are just that? Theories? By the way, feel free to share your juiciest coronavirus theories in the comments below. But enough about conspiracies. To get a level-headed expert opinion on the issue, we reached out to Clem Chambers, CEO of the financial market website ADVFN. According to Clem, this is more a political question than an economic one. Clem explained further, if the virus had been allowed to run rampant and burn itself out, while the immediate human cost would have been high, the economic cost would likely have been minor. The political directive to sacrifice prosperity for lives was and continues to be the key variable. As such, the final economic outcome of the pandemic will be dictated by the medium and long-term political response to COVID-19. Thanks, Clem. It's important to note that this pandemic represents uncharted territory for both epidemiologists and modern economists. There's no way to fully predict future developments, and for better or worse, the economy's health has been temporarily set aside for the sake of global well-being, at least until the immediate danger passes. So, what does the future hold for our corona-stricken planet? Well, there are bound to be economic winners and losers as this major health crisis plays out, and we'll probably witness these fluctuations for years to come. For any recession to officially end, the economic bleeding has to stop fully before the patient can truly recover. With the economy sinking and unemployment soaring, economists say we're witnessing the worst recession since the Great Depression. Nearly a century ago, the stock market crashed, sinking the US economy with it. In terms of depth, the recession we're now in is pretty similar, which sounds pretty bad. Yikes. Couldn't we have learned something from history and prevented plunging into such deep recession yet again? Was grinding to a standstill really necessary? Well, the good news is that while this recession is as deep as the one a century ago, practically everything else is different. The Great Depression was a mix of economic, financial, and natural disasters that simply hit at the same time. Experts say recovering from the COVID-19 crisis shouldn't be nearly as bad. Why? Well, before coronavirus, the economy was thriving, and unlike the Great Depression, this recession was the result of our own decision to shut down. Stopping your economy before the dry period enables you to save your resources for when you can actually use them. So, it's expected that the economy will pick up where it left off as we start to ease public health measures. Hopefully. In the meantime, there really isn't much for us to do other than brace ourselves and wait for whatever else this apocalyptic year has in store. Maybe we should start living by corny cliches to remain positive. When life gives us lemons, let's make lemonade. While we're at it, let's learn how to love again. And as a bunch of celebrities sang terribly just a few months ago.
Imagine all the people.
Just kidding. We'd never think of being that cheesy.